You're scrolling, drifting through the endless static of the algorithm, waiting for the signal to cut through the noise. Consider, if you will, that you just found the frequency. You've just stepped off the timeline of the everyday, into the space where the forgotten history and the hidden truths finally touch down. There's the story you know, and then there's the airspace we're about to enter. Check your coordinates, because you're heading towards the landing point.
Welcome back, friends. Today's story, Poetic Science. There was a mother, once upon a time in the early 19th century, who lived in mortal terror of poetry. Her name was Annabella, and her fear wasn't entirely irrational. You see, Annabella had been married to the most famous, most scandalous, most widely unpredictable poet of his age. A man who was famously described as mad, bad, and dangerously known. His name was Lord Byron. Annabella left him when their only legitimate child, a little girl named Ada, was just 5 weeks old. Lord Byron left England forever a few months later, and little Ada never saw her father again. But Annabella was convinced that the Byron madness, that dangerous, unpredictable spark of poetic imagination, was coursing through Ada's veins. It was a disease, the mother thought, and she needed a cure. Her prescription? Mathematics. From the time Ada was a toddler, her mother enforced a rigorous, unrelenting diet of logic, science, and math. There were to be no fairy tales, no verses, no dreaming. Just cold, hard, rational comfort of numbers. If the girl's mind was completely occupied with equations, the mother reasoned there was no room left for her father's dangerous poetry. But here is where Annabella's plan went a little bit wrong. Because little Ada didn't just learn mathematics, she felt it. To her, numbers weren't cold at all. They were beautiful. They were the very language of the universe. By age 12, the girl who was forbidden to dream was using her mathematical training to conceptualize a steam-powered flying machine, studying the anatomy of birds to calculate the perfect wing proportions. She called her way of thinking poetical science. The very thing her mother had tried to suppress had simply found a new canvas. Let's fast forward to 1833. Ada is 17. She attends a party in London and meets a somewhat eccentric inventor called Charles Babbage. Babbage is showing off a piece of massive brass gear-driven machine he called difference engine, essentially a towering mechanical calculator. Most of the aristocrats in the room politely nodded, completely baffled. But Ada? Ada was mesmerized. She understands exactly how it works. A few years later, Babbage proposes an even grander machine, the analytical engine. It would use punch cards to weave calculations, much like a jagged loom of the era wove tapestries. An Italian engineer wrote a paper on the theoretical machine, and Ada was asked to translate it into English. But she didn't just translate it, she added her own notes. Notes that ended up being 3 times as long as the original paper. In those notes, Ada wrote detailed sequences of operation of how the machine could calculate a sequence of Baconian numbers. She realized something that even Babbage had missed. Babbage had saw his machine as a supercalculator for numbers. Ada saw the numbers could represent anything: letters, musical notes, logic. She saw a future where machines could compose music, create graphics, and assist in scientific research. In the dusty 1843 translation, this young woman wrote the world's very first complex algorithm intended to be executed by a machine. She was the daughter of a poet, forced into mathematics to cure her imagination. Instead, she used mathematics to imagine a future no one else could see. A full century before the first electronic computers were ever built, she laid the conceptual groundwork for the digital age. You have heard her maiden name, Ada Byron. Or perhaps, through the telephone game of history, you've heard it scrambled into Ada Von. But the world remembers this pioneer by her married title, the Countess of Lovelace, Ada Lovelace. And whether you realize it or not, this is The Landing Point.
Viewers, thank you for watching today, The Landing Point. We really appreciate it. I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Roadrunner Real Estate. They are a full-service real estate company doing both commercial and residential real estate. They can help you buy, sell, or even lease your properties. So if you're in the market looking for a real estate company, please go out and give them a call. They'll happily help you today. The next thing I'd like to talk about is our social media. Obviously, we have YouTube if you're watching that today. If you haven't done so already, please go out and subscribe. It is completely free to you. There's nothing that you'll be charged or your membership fees, but it does help us out so we can get our latest episodes to you quickly, and you can find out what's going on with YouTube. Our other place that we do a lot of our social media is on our Facebook page, The Landing Point. So please go out and like and subscribe or follow those, I guess I would say, so you get the latest updates. If you're a person that likes to listen to stories as you're out on the drive, we have our podcast. You can find The Landing Point out there, and it can be on most services. So once again, thank you for watching The Landing Point, and we look forward to see you on our next story.